How's it going today? Today we're going to be going over chapter 1039 of One Piece. So this chapter starts out with the Straw Hats in a forest. It seems to be all the Straw Hats, and they all seem to be, in good spirits, healthy, and some a little bit worried, but hey, they seem fine. Monkey King is there with them. So the name of this chapter is The Main Attraction, and I'll be honest, it's got more Kid and Law versus Big Mom than the Kid and Law versus Big Mom chapter. So the first thing we start out with is the skies above Wano, and you see Onigashima floating. You see that Momo is trying to kind of pull the island away from the mainland, and he's made a bit of progress, it seems. So that's good. He says that he can't let it fall on the capital. That's unthinkable. But, it'd kill tons of people. And then he hears somebody calling him, which is kind of a nod back to when Zunisha showed up. And he doesn't know that Zunisha is around, but, that'll have something to do with it, I'm sure. One thing before we get too much farther in, there's no Zoro in this chapter. So it does not answer any of the questions from last chapter. But, we know how that works. That's a given. So after that, it cuts over to the dome interior live floor where Kid, Law, and Big Mom are fighting. And it picks it right up, right after Big Mom gets hit by the bull, and she's blown away. People, talk, cheer, the same old stuff. And it's got kind of a funny little panel of Big Mom just tongue out, going, blah. Kid is quite exhausted, and him and Law start to banter a little bit. Law's upset because, Law starts out the fight, or starts out by attacking, and Kid comes in and steals all the glory, so to say. And he's all upset. He's like, I'm not your opening act. And Kid's like, who cares? Let it go. We're in the middle of a fight. So Big Mom gets back up. And she's, upset, sees them fighting, and pretty much Law says, well, what's your trump card? And Kid's like, shut up, I'm not going to tell you that. Big Mom stands up, and she is beaten and bruised. Her arm is bent, like, right in the center, just bent right in half. Her arm is obviously broken. She's got some ribs broken, she says. And she comments on, or thinks to herself, Law's technique is pretty dangerous. So she exchanges some of her life force again to repair herself this time. It turns out that her ability is pretty handy. She heals her bones, then kind of gets back up, right up to full speed. Her hair's on fire. She kind of does the whole muscle look, and everybody's cheering, that's on her side. Pretty much at that point, Law looks at Kid and says, hey, listen, all jokes aside, this next attack's going to be my last one. I am beat. So he's like, hey, you're going to have to, distract her for a minute. And Kid's like, quit telling me what to do. I'm going to do what I want. I'm going to do this my way. Big Mom calls out to Prometheus, Napoleon, and Hera, and does a move called Mazer Saber and cuts the bull straight in half. The fight goes on just a little bit. Big Mom taunts him a little bit, says, stop dreaming. I've sent hundreds like you to the grave. I'll do the same to you, pretty much. We've ruled for decades now, since the time you two were still drinking your mother's milk. So at that point, Kid uses a sign, and he adds some letters. He puts an S on Big Mom's forehead, and then an N on the wall behind her. And she is then stuck to the wall behind her. It's a giant metal wall, it appears. And then the bull that she cut in half comes back together and tries to impale her. However, she rips the wall up and uses it as a shield, blocking the bull. And everybody is shocked. One person comments, she moved the whole tower to block? Kids just sat there in disbelief. He's like, no way. And then Big Mom, she's like, you've really weighed me down quite a bit with this. and then uses Mother's homing cannon Misery. And it is a pretty cool panel, I'm not gonna lie. This is a double page panel, I believe. Yes. It is pretty much a flame avatar, it looks, of her. And it seems to be tracking Kid. At that point, Big Mom is caught off guard by a tower appearing above her and Law saying, tact. So it's him doing it. It drops on her. It catches her off guard. And then Law uses his K-Room, I believe. He doesn't say it here, though. He doesn't say K-Room. He just coats his sword in it. Stabs it straight through the center of Big Mom, who is laying down on the ground after she got knocked down. She's pissed off. She's like, not this again, Law. And then you see the sword. It's just shot straight down through Onigashima. Then you see it in the basement where Yamato is in. She's still fighting the thing the thing trying to blow up the island. I cannot remember for the life of me what it's called. And she's surprised by the sword just coming down through. And then you see all of the underside of the island of Onigashima that's floating, and you see Momo pulling the island a little bit more here, but the sword is now reached all the way to the ground, which is insane. So at this point, Big Mom just starts pummeling Law, because she's like, I gotta get him off me. Law is showing some major endurance here. He is sitting there, he's taking all the punches, and his crew's like, Captain, you gotta let go. You're gonna die. Finally, Law is like, and then he says, puncture. Big Mom's like, what? No, don't. And he uses Puncture Willie. And it shows a shock wave go all the way down from his sword, from him all the way to the mainland. And there's a giant crater in the mainland of Wano now, and there's a hole all the way through Onigashima. So he managed to put a hole in an island. That's quite a power boost for him. Momo takes notice of the hole, and he's like, what? How did that crater get there? And everybody's kind of like, what's with this giant hole that just appeared? At that point, Law collapses, and you see Misery about to hit him. And this is where you see Kid. Law says, now, Eustace. Big Mom's like, what the hell is that? How many times... And Kid, he's like, how many times do I have to say it, Law? Don't tell me what to do. Law smiles. Kid looks a little pissed off. The look in Big Mom's face is almost like fear and anger mixed, which, I mean, is fitting. They're in the middle of a fight. But Kid appears with a giant, cannon. It looks like a railgun, honestly. But it's like it's about double the size of him. It looks like it's about the same size as Big Mom's head. Which, I mean, for comparison. And then Big Mom kind of gets over the shock. She's like, you think you can take me down? Give me your best shot. I'm Big Mom. And Kid's like, that's why I'm going to finish you off. And he uses Damned Punk, which is a new move that I have not seen yet. And the kanji means electromagnetic cannon, I guess. That's what the notes are saying here. And she's hit and screams. It doesn't say she's defeated, but she's not looking good, that's for damn sure. And Law is in bad shape, and he's like, your era is over. Dragging the emperors off their thrones is what the narrator says, and that is the end of the chapter. This chapter was a ton of action. Only thing I'm complaining about is the fact that we did not see anything to do with Zoro, but I mean, that makes sense. We probably won't see anything from him till One Piece comes back from a break. I'm not sure if there's a break next week. I don't think there is, so we probably won't see anything with Zoro next week. It'll probably be the chapter after next. It'll probably be chapter 1041, if I'd have to guess. So, that's the chapter. What was your favorite part of the chapter? Let me know in the comments below, because I'd have to say Law's new technique. That's one of my favorites. That's showing off a ton of power. Like, I think that's the most power we've seen from any of the supernovas in any of these, including Luffy. Luffy's done some crazy feats, but this is the shock or puncture Willy. That is huge. But that does it for today. I'll be back, next week with our normal content, and on next Friday or next Saturday when the next chapter comes out. I'll see you then.